Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I want to give a little bit of a Monday night preview talking about the Detroit Lions versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the Detroit Lions, they're at home at Ford Field Stadium, and according to ESPN, they have a 70% chance to win tonight's game. So I want to talk about what can they actually prove tonight since they have such a big chance to win this game. And I think we look at them amongst the elite in the NFC and thinking about also coming off of that ugly loss last week versus Baltimore. And I dropped a video last week talking about a lot of the details within that game. I pointed to some of the offensive things by the Baltimore Ravens, Ty Monken, defensively with Mike McDonald. And I said that it looked like he got out-coached. It looked like he got out-physical and outplayed for the Detroit Lions. So now, coming into this game, I think that it's important to show some things that reared their ugly head last week, get out of some of those things. And also, with the trade deadline, I do quickly want to note, I don't think this game affects anything that the Detroit Lions will do in the trade deadline. I think that you look at this game and you want to fix some of the issues that you've had. But if you want to make a move, I don't think tonight's game will have a direct impact on it. Now, to open this up, I want to get into the offense because I think last week, we saw some interesting things. Now, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he has been bumped to questionable. So this is going to go even more into the point that I want to talk about in this video. But I want to start off with guys who have to get going. Now, Jameson Williams, a couple of weeks off of the suspension. And I think a guy that everyone's looking at and saying, okay, make big-time plays in the offense. Be an impact player. You have speed that kills. And Ben Johnson, we also have to say, you got to get this guy involved. I don't think it's as easy as it appears to be in that some people may believe just to get him open on those deep shots. I think that is going to take a little more time to really set that up and build it into the offense. But I think if you want to give him some screen passes, some jailbreak screens, kind of like you've used Khalif Raymond, and I talked about this in my last video, we get this guy on screens, we get him on the move and some motion and create mismatches in space just to get him the football. Let him do some yards after the catch work, and I think that's important. Let him feel the football a little bit, starting it off early. I'm talking about first quarter, get him the football, let him feel it, let him feel like he's a part of the game and a part of the offense early, and I think that could lead to something big in the second half or later down the line in this game. Now, at this point, he has 4 catches, 12 targets, 55 yards, and a touchdown. Had the big-time touchdown versus Tampa Bay, but like I said, it just hasn't been a lot of volume for Jameson Williams, and I think especially if Amon-Ra St. Brown does not play tonight, this is a guy that has to be leaned on. Now, also, Josh Reynolds, he's been looking very good as the second receiver along Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I think he's a guy that's going to also step up to the table. But the reason I say Jameson Williams is because I can kind of expect what I'm going to get tonight out of Josh Reynolds. I think we look at J-Mo, and he's a bit of a wild card when talking about what will his production look like in tonight's game. Now, also 2 more guys that I want to note, but first off, Jahmyr Gibbs. I think that this will be a big-time game for him, and the reason I say that is that first off, the Las Vegas Raiders, they aren't a slouch on defense. They're 7th in pass defense and 10th in total defense. But I look at this rush defense, and they're ranked 25th in the league. Now, also, Divine Diablo, a very good linebacker for them. He's out, so they're depending on Robert Spillane, Bilal Nichols, Jeffrey Tillery's of the world. And you look at it and say, okay, we got to run inside the tackles. We got to get this run game going. And also, if you want to run away from Max Carsby, if you want to get him on the move, get some different guys in motion, create some eye candy to get this run game going, I'm expecting the passing game to be of high volume for Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm expecting a running game, a lot of carries in the run game. This should be a Jahmyr Gibbs game in both the passing and running game. That's something I'm expecting. So you got to get them going early and often along with Jameson Williams. And those are 2 guys that should be leaned on. But I'm expecting Josh Reynolds to come to the party. I'm expecting Sam Laporta to come to the party. He's been playing like a Pro Bowl tight end. It's nothing else we can say. I mean, talking about training camp, OTAs, everything we've thought, it actually has been true. You got George Kittle praising this guy, saying he's going to be one of those good Iowa tight ends. We think about Noah Fant. All of the tight ends, TJ Hawkinson's of the world. Of course, he's not in Detroit. Some Detroit fans don't like TJ Hawkinson, but all of these Iowa tight ends have came to the NFL, and they've translated seamlessly. So I'm expecting another big-time night from a guy like Sam Laporta. But like I said, they're going against a pretty good defense. I think you look at some of the guys in the secondary. Now, Nate Hobbs is also out for the Las Vegas Raiders, but they got Jacorian Bennett, a rookie out of Maryland, got Marcus Peters, got Trayvon Morgan in the back end, Marcus Epps, he came over from Philadelphia. So I don't think that it's just going to be we come out here and dominate. That should be the motto, though. That should be the mantra for the Detroit Lions. You lose like you did to Baltimore, you have to come out and send a message. The reason that I'm saying this is that we may not be looking at the Las Vegas Raiders like some people should be looking at them. That's why I want to talk about some of these statistics. Now, I think it's key to understand The Las Vegas Raiders are currently ranked 22nd in first quarter points allowed. So what is this telling Ben Johnson? What is this telling Jared Goff? Those first 10 to 15 scripted plays, they got to be on the money. They got to be big time. So now you get 7 points on the board early. I don't think that's a big time challenge for a guy like Ben Johnson, but I think when you got off to the slow start that you did last week, and also when I talk about the offensive line, I talk about some things within the passing game. It doesn't help that the Baltimore Ravens got out to such a big lead. They really put their foot on the pedal and said, okay, we're going to do this today. We're going to go 100% at it. So the Detroit Lions, they got down early, and now it's in a situation where the drop back game isn't as crisp. They can run different coverages because that really gave Baltimore all flexibility and freedom on defense. They already have a good defense, but now when you have to play from behind and they can just really let their guys go and feast, now that's in a situation where it's not going to be the prettiest outcome. However, though, like I said, you want to start off early. You want to click in the red zone. The Lions are currently ranked 15th in red zone percentage. This is a little over 50%. So this is saying we're going 2 for 4 in the red zone. Tonight, you want to see more 3 for 4. You want to see more 4 for 4. If you can get into the red zone, you want to connect on all of those opportunities. And I think when we talk about some of the teams who are the most successful in the red zone, a lot of them have mobile quarterbacks, guys who can improvise and provide you different things on the run. So with Jared Goff, you really have to scheme up the best plays and now get into the defense and say, okay, we're creating mismatches. We're getting guys in space because he's not the most athletic. I think that is something that you don't have the luxury of, but it's no reason that they still can't score. Like I said, Ben Johnson having the weapons, that's something you got to lean on tonight. So I think those are the biggest things that I talk about when I look at the offense for tonight. What can they prove? I want to see some of those guys get going. I want to see you get the flow, start off early and often with the offense. But like I said, you're not going against a slouch of a defense. These guys are good on defense, but getting into a unit that hasn't been as crisp and as good for the Las Vegas Raiders, I think we can talk about the offense. Right now, they're currently ranked 28th in total offense, 32nd in rushing offense, 18th in passing offense, and 30th in third down conversion. So they haven't been able to consistently get a flow going offensively. Now, I think that still, with that being said, they've had a chance to win just about all of their games, really outside of the Chicago game. Jimmy G didn't play in that game. He's back tonight. And really outside of the Buffalo game. That one got out of their reach early and often. But I'm talking about tonight and what I'm expecting to see. You have to think for the Detroit Lions, because last week I talked about Aaron Glenn. I talked about the linebackers and how Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson, they really use motion. They use the mobility of a Lamar Jackson to really get the Detroit Lions into some unconventional situations. I thought that it truly seemed to me like some of the things we saw, we didn't see this action again and again and again in practice. So that's coming into it now and say we have to improve upon some of these things. We have to see, okay, if we're going against play action, if we're going against guys who are blocking and releasing, if we're in man coverage, we have to understand if we're stopping the run, we're stopping the run. But if that tight end releases, if that running back goes out for a screen, we have to have the lock call set up within the defense. So now somebody is accounting for that guy. Patrick Ricard was running free. Gus Edwards was running free. That can't happen this week because Michael Mayer, he will gas you. If Josh Jacobs gets a lane and he runs free, he will gas you. So that's something that has to be emphasized within the locker room, within Aaron Glenn and the defense. But I think I'm looking at the linebackers. Now, right now, the Detroit Lions, they're still ranked second in rush defense. But I think we want to talk about this pass defense, which is 23rd. Now, there's a lot of things that go into the pass defense. It's the pass rush, of course. It's the corners, of course. And then you have to think about it. If you get into a lead, now you're giving up some of those garbage time yards. But I think really right now, you want to see the pass rush. This is an interesting stat that I looked at and that I pulled up in the last 3 games. The Detroit Lions are last in the NFL in sacks in their last 3 games. They don't have a sack per game in their last 3. It's 0.7. So that's something that has to be improved. You win against Tampa Bay, you win against Carolina, you win against Baltimore. 0.7 sacks in the last 3 weeks. That's all that you have to show for it. So guys are going to have to step up. Now, I was looking at the injury report. Josh Pascal may be back. I think that you hold him off maybe till after the bye week. But even getting into that, Aiden Hutchinson, Charles Harris, some of the guys on the defensive line, Ali McNeil, Isaiah Buggs, guys that have to step up and get after the quarterback and Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, I say that to also say they're playing a pretty good offensive line in the Las Vegas Raiders. They're not amongst the elite when we talk about offensive line play, but they're right there hanging around in the middle of the pack. So that's going to be important to say, can we get pressure on a guy like this? And like I said, I don't think even if they get a ton of sacks tonight, even if they don't get a ton of sacks tonight, I don't think it has a direct impact on what Brad Holmes does at the trade deadline tomorrow. So these are some of the big time things that I'm looking at. I want to see how you handle motion. I want to see how you stop the run or continue to try to stop the run. because the Las Vegas Raiders, they're going to be trying to make a statement. Josh Jacobs, now he held in, he had a lot of different things going on, trying to get his big time contract. And coming into this season, the rushing game hasn't been able to get flowing at all. They're last in the league. So you say that with a guy who had a top 5 running back season last year, now you're coming into it and we're saying, how are we the last ranked rushing attack in all of the NFL? I think that's important. So they're looking at a team and saying they're second in rush defense. We got to get after them. We got to make a statement tonight. And I think the Detroit Lions have to put their hard hat on, come into this game and say, no, Devontae Adams, I want to see how they cover him. I'm expecting a lot of Cortland Sutton on this guy, and I'm expecting a lot of safety help. Also with Jacoby Myers, a guy who can't be left alone on the island too many times, but you got to pay attention to him. You got to pay attention to Michael Mayer and stop the run game, which I think they can do. They have a high chance of doing it. What are you looking for in tonight's game specifically? Like I said, I told you the opponent that you're going against, some of the key players that they're going to lean on to try to perform for them tonight, but also adding to that fact, we look at the NFC landscape. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys are about to clash, so that's a match we have to look for and say somebody's going to add a loss into that record. The San Francisco 49ers, they're on a 3-game losing streak, so you're looking at the NFC right now, and also the Seattle Seahawks, they're currently sitting at 5-2, so you have to win this game. I think it's a must-win for the standings, and also you have to prove some things that didn't get proved last week against a very good Baltimore Ravens team. If you want to get to the Super Bowl, if you want to compete, those are the types of teams that have to be beaten. And again, thank you for watching this video. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. That's going to do it for today's show. And now, we out.